to what we are here for today. First, before we go any further, I want to welcome everyone here, our regular members, our guest, specifically our guest today, led by Jeff Durocher, who's going to be one of our presenters today, and the members of ILEA. I hope this is the first of many times we get together and share ideas. Thank you for coming and listening to Jeff Rogers for the last half hour figure out what he's going to give his wife tomorrow for Valentine's Day. Of course, I want to thank the presenters that are here for the day, and also along with them, Mark, who's going to be facilitating most of this along the way. The next people I would love to thank are going to be Brian and Jenny. Without them, our sponsors, we couldn't keep our website going and looking the way it is. And if you haven't noticed, it's been updated and changed around a lot. And this is really important to keep us current with the times. So if you have any work you need done, Jenny and Brian are the people you want to contact. They are the best to work with. So thank you again. Hey, you know what we've got coming up? We have got coming up a very big event next month, and it is our finalists for the last story standing. All of those who competed, these are the six that have made it to the next round. One of these six, Gary, Karen, Steve, Martina, Catherine, or Dean, is going to be our champ, who's then going to represent us in regionals, and then will win regionals and end up on the national stage at Influence and bring home the crown like Jeff did a couple of years ago. So that sounds really great, but what's even better is you can come watch them in their last performance together on one stage, and it's going to be at the Skokie Theater on March 5th. It's going to be from 6 to 9 at night. Now, the big thing about this is we're not just going to have them do their 5-minute stories. We're also going to have some entertainment. Jeff is going to be Jeff Rogers, I should say, because we've got a lot of Jeffs on today. Jeff Rogers is going to be emceeing the entire event that night. Lynn O'Dowd's going to be doing some performing, doing a little musical medley, which is really cool. And Chris Carter's going to do something. I don't know. He'll read my mind, I guess, and figure out what it is. So they're going to do some entertainment between some of the presentations. We have got a great group of judges that are going to judge it. At the end of the night, we are going to find our rep, our champion, who's going to go on to regionals. So come on out. It's $25. Bring friends and family, because we're going to have not only some of this entertainment, we're going to have some drinks available, and we're going to be probably looking to get a little food in there. We're going to make it a whole fun night. To encourage each and every one of these. They're fantastic presentations already, but they're going to be even better. So come on out and see them. This is taking the place of our March meeting. So this will be the meeting for March. So come on out, watch that. And then, of course, the next week we will do an accelerator on that as well. The next thing I want to do is welcome our new members. And actually, 3 of the 4 are on the call today. So I want to thank them for coming. Dr. Don Parker, Mike Vuklovic, Sabrina Beyer, and Casey Williamson. Don, Sabrina, and Casey are on the call. I didn't notice if Mike came in. Mike, if you came in last minute, I apologize. I'm slow on the trigger on some of these things. But you guys, welcome for coming and joining our membership. You're going to see a lot of things available to you. I know Martina's probably helping set you up with some things. There's a lot of benefits down the road. One of the most important things is you can get yourself on our directory. And guys, next month we're going to give you more information about it. But our directory has a new section of a feature of it. You can put some of your demo in there, or a link to your demo. This is really important, but I want to keep going. But I did want to tell you about that. If you're interested in it, go to your profile and it's in there. It'll explain it to you. But in more detail, we'll catch it later or send you an email. Just want to do a little heads up on that. There is still time to register for the sizzle reel. Your best 10 minutes. We're going to have that on May 30th, I believe it is. It's a Saturday at the Skokie Theater. More information to come. Between interviews today, members of NSA Illinois you're going to want to be in for this part of the presentation because it is Allie Pleiter, and she is actually the national chair for leadership membership. That's a lot to say all in one thing. She's going to come in and talk to us about why you should join national NSA and the benefits of it to the community as a whole. So stick around for that. That's going to be between the Jeff interview and the Jeff interview. You decide which one it is. But Allie's gonna be in there, and I highly recommend everyone stick around to listen to what she has to say. Really great information going there. That leads us up to Mark and the two Jeffs. We want to thank them for coming in today, and we hope that everyone has got their pen and paper ready so we can write some notes and have some ideas that Mark's already told us we are going to have to suggest in our breakout sessions that are literally going to be us just opening it up to everyone between interviews, as it were. So, Mark, without any further ado, I am going to pass everything over to you so that you can get started with some magnificent information. So there you go, Mark. It's all yours.
And I just need someone to pin me and Jeff Durocher up on the screen as speakers.
Oh, hold on.
And then we'll get rolling and we'll roll right into it. Then I'll introduce the first Jeff and then I'll introduce the second Jeff later.
So what is it that you need, Mark?
Just to pin us to the screen as speakers for, yep, that's one. And pin Jeff Durocher.
All right. Oh, mine is misbehaving on us.
There we go. It's Jeff.
Hey, welcome.
And I'll start by introducing him. Jeff Durocher is a 15-year veteran in the Chicago events industry. He is currently the owner and president of U.S. Poker and Casino Parties, a casino rental company, and Bright Light Events and Entertainment, an interactive entertainment company. Prior to that, he was a chief marketing officer for RHR International, the premier firm in CEO succession and executive development. He's an active member of the events community, serving on several boards over the years. He's the current president of International Live Events Association Chicago and has also been ILEA Chicago's vice president of membership back in 2017. Jeff is also a very active member with Meeting Professionals International, the MPI Chicago area chapter, which is where I met Jeff what feels like a freaking lifetime ago. And he's an ambassador for Choose Chicago and the Schaumburg Business Association. When he's not finding ways to spend time with his grown-aged kids, he has been known to attend a couple of networking events each week. Yeah, that's understating it. I know you too well for a couple a week. Oh my God. That's what you do. We're going to dig into that a little bit more. But first, I want to start out with everything you're doing. What do you love most about what you do?
For me, I get the most joy out of introducing people to things they've never done. So, in the networking world, that is sometimes just kind of introducing to other people. In the events world, it's taking them to through a journey when they arrive at the event, have a fun time, create a memorable experience that they can go home and live with. So part of what I do in the interactive entertainment world is create memories and bring joy to people. It sounds a little hokey, but the reason I did this, got out of corporate and went into entertainment was there's a line from a movie that says, when you die, you get to the heavenly gates and they ask you two questions. One is, did you find joy in life? And then the other is, did you bring joy to others? So I've sort of designed my career around that in the second half of my life.
And before the next question, I want to tell people you don't have to wait. If something pops up, you have a question, put it in the chat for us. Feel free to add those anytime. And Jeff, with networking, I love that you love what you do and you make an impact. We're definitely going to talk more about helping people out and getting them introductions. What is your story with networking? How did you get so good at it? Starting with, we'll get into storytelling, but first, your story with networking.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing I'm discovering is that I'm very good one-to-one with people and one to a few, but I'm not very good one to many. So, the stuff that you guys are doing in speakers, helping people speak to large crowds, I am no good at that. But on the flip side, I'm very comfortable approaching new people, asking them, their story and getting to learn more about them, which is a key to networking. one of the keys. But also just making people feel comfortable because I've learned that everybody that goes to these networking events, they all are thinking the same thing. Like, there's nobody here. How am I going to meet people? Nobody came up and talked to me. There's few extroverts like us who are really good at sort of reaching out and kind of, you know, engaging people and talking to them. But the key for me is really not too different than what speakers do. You need to know your audience, right? So the first thing I usually do in a networking event is ask a little bit about the person that I just met.
Talk more, unpack that a little bit more. I love it that you started storytelling with listening to the other person's story first. So many people start with, you got to have the perfect, I hate the term, I'm just going to say it, elevator pitch. Value proposition is better, but so many people default to the perfect elevator pitch. You said to know their story first. Talk more about that, unpack it. Why is it important to hear their story first?
Yeah, people really like talking about themselves. They might not think they do, but it's easy for them, right? So if they're in an unfamiliar situation like networking where they're feeling a little lonely or unsure, the most sure thing they know is about themselves. So I'm a super curious person, and I love to learn people's journeys. Like, how did you get to where you are today? Where did it start? And people really start to dig in and think about, well, and people start at different places, right? Like, they may start at their childhood, they may start at their job, they may start at where they're at a key inflection point in their life. So it gives you a starting point to get to know them and makes them feel more and more safe and able to share. And let's be honest, we don't always ask. People don't always ask what we're doing, right, and how we're doing. So it's fun to be able to tell that story when you're asked. So you just have to ask it. And rarely do I have people not want to tell me about themselves.
This is interesting. Step into that conversation now where you're asking about the other person. What kind of questions are you asking? What do you want to learn about them? Because there's so many directions a conversation can go. What do you recommend? What do you want to learn about the other person?
Right. So, we're both in the same spot at the same time. And my curiosity is really like, how do we both get here? Right. Based on our own individual journeys. So I really kind of approach it from that curiosity. So, the obvious questions are, what do you do? And, how did you get here? I usually try to find something mutual that is happening at the time, something about the speaker, for instance, like, hey, have you heard the speaker before? What are you hoping to learn today? Um, or I might even just, be a little humble and just say, yeah, I'm not sure why I'm here. I'm not sure what I'm going to learn. Or, these people I'm not sure these people are, going to be able to help me. Is there anything that you're particularly looking for? So it's really about trying to shorten that distance between two
Mhm.
strangers. And I find that when you show a little bit of humbleness or a little bit of um, curiosity without feeling like you're um, kind of drilling them for questions,
Mhm.
they open up and it just shifts the whole conversation.
Well, it shifts it because you show that you care about them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I know, go ahead.
I was going to say it's a great starting point for the conversation, right? And I don't want to talk about myself. I do that all the time in my life. So what you're really doing is flipping the script, right? People are nobody ever asks them about themselves, so they get a chance to talk about it, and you don't have to talk about yourself. So, unless you want to,
Okay,
yeah, unless you want to.
you open the door. Now I got to ask, when do you feel it's appropriate to talk about yourself? Because part of getting to know someone, they have to get to know you too. So how do you balance? Definitely make it about them first. I totally agree. What is a balance of talking about yourself and sharing to get to know someone without going overboard? What do you recommend with storytelling about yourself in a networking situation?
Yeah, so common ground, right? So when you start to hear what they're telling you, you may have a similar story or similar ground, similar part of your journey that you can share. You don't want to monopolize the conversation. You want to keep it open for sure. I'll give you an example. I was born and raised in Traverse City, Michigan. So if I'm having a conversation, I ask about somebody and they say they're from Michigan, then I go with that, right? I'll say, oh, really? Where in Michigan? I'm from Traverse City. So it opens that dialogue. And then you're looking for those sort of intersections in your life, but you can't take over from there. You got to keep, you have to like basically put that's like frosting on the cake. You just give them a little bit more to make them feel more comfortable so that they continue to talk about themselves. It's a common thing where people, and I've even been accused of this over the years, is like you use that as a way to start talking about yourself, but you have to be very careful of keeping the focus on them.
What are some other ways to keep the focus on them? Do you talk about yourself and then come back with more questions to dive deeper? What does that look like?
Yeah, the story, I mean, what you see is a softening of the person after the first few questions, and they feel like comfortable and safe. And oftentimes people will follow me around after that because they feel comfortable. Um, so, for me, I teach people how to network for, a little side hustle that I do. Not that I need another job, but one of the things I try to do is think about how I can help them, right? So as I'm listening to their story, I'm thinking like, wherever that story goes, I sell insurance, or am looking to make a job change, or I just graduated from college. I'm thinking in my own head, my Rolodex of who I know that might be able to help them. So again, it frames the conversation in a helpful way versus I need to tell you more about me. So when I end up telling them about me is really the people that I think that I know that I might be able to help them because I'm listening for those things. And sometimes they're in the room. When I do teach people how to network, I've got two things at a networking event. So sorry, a little bit of tangential, but
Mhm.
how do you define a successful networking event? For me, it's if you're new, you have to meet two or three people you had never met, and you have to introduce one of them to another person. And this is the key because in order for you to introduce them to somebody else, you need to be listening for something that you can introduce them for, right? So it's like, oh, you said that you were interested in, bocce ball. Have you met Mark, who happened to be the bocce ball champion of, his hometown? So you're sort of looking for those connections and listening for those types of things.
What advice do you have if people, let's do this on a couple levels. The first level that you had touched on, if you're new or newer, or I'll say new-ish to a group, what do you suggest in the world of storytelling and networking as far as is it always talk about the other person first? What do you do if you feel like, okay, I'm new to this group, I just joined, I'm at one of my first events. What do you have to navigate those waters?
Yeah, there's lots of strategies. One that I like to do is tell people to get there early, get a lay of the land, understand where the check-in is, who the people are, introduce yourself, find where the restrooms are, so forth, and then be there at the front when people are coming in and welcome them. They don't know you're not part of the, the welcoming committee, but you're the first face they see. They remember that later in the networking event that you helped them. Oftentimes people are looking for the same two or three things when they walk in. Where do I hang my coat? Where's the bathroom? And where's the bar? Right. So if you get there a little bit early and though you can help with those types of things, um, it's the first starting point for you as a new person, and you're not the one waiting to be talked to. You're kind of just feeling like the welcoming committee and helping bring other people at ease. For me, going back to what I said earlier, like the things that really drive me are making people feel good, right? Bringing them joy. So that's part of it for me is sort of, I just pretend like I'm part of the welcoming committee. I hit them early, and then I see them two or three times throughout the evening. It makes the conversations really easy.
And how about the other side of a coin? You've been a member of an organization or part of an organization for a while. You know a lot of the people in the room. How do you keep it fresh and not just be like, well, I already know everybody? How do you make the most of it and keep it fresh after you've been a member for a while?
Yeah, so you look for the new ones for sure. I always have a promise to people that if they come to an event that I'm at and they're new to the group, or new to networking, I say I'll introduce you to five people you've never met if you come to this event. And when I'm a part of an association, to your question, I know a lot of people in the room, so I'm looking for ways to introduce people in the room to others that they didn't know. And what I find is, as you're kind of going through listening for their journey early on and then introduce them to some people that you think might be helpful to them. If that turns out to be kismet, to use an old word, where I introduced you to Christopher, and then you guys end up doing lots of business together, neither one of you will forget who made that initial connection, right? So you sort of get double your money, a little BOGO there, where you introduce two people together that have a great um, career, or help each other. It's a win-win. So
And you touched on it a little bit. You brought up that you were raised in Traverse City. You bring that up. As far as with sharing about yourself, can you unpack that a little bit more? What are the components of a good story? Like what should you share, maybe not without oversharing? What would you tell people are components of? Plan on sharing a couple key things to share your story. What would you tell people to be willing and ready to share?
yeah, so I mean the natural ones are where you grew up, where you went to school, what you're studying or what your profession is. Those are kind of the staples, right? I find like that gets a little bit generic and a little boring to me. I really want to know what makes them tick, why are you here? What are you hoping to get out of it? Is there anybody here that I can introduce you to? So it's really finding intersections in their conversations as you're listening where you can share a little bit about yourself that makes them feel more comfortable, that you're really out, you're not out just to sell them something, right? So um, it wouldn't be uncommon for me to share that I have, 5 kids, and that kids, if somebody's talking about their children, right? Or if, they have somebody who's looking at universities and I have that experience, I can share what I did for my kids or who I know in universities. So I'm listening for those types of things and I share as needed versus just diarrhea of the mouth where I'm like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you all about me. It's really if you want to use a business term, it's a customized presentation.
Well, after you meet someone and you know you want to make a connection, let's talk about follow-up and the importance of if you're doing what you said, you let them talk about themselves first, then you share. You've hopefully found a couple points of common ground. When you know you want to get to know someone better, talk about the follow-up. What do you do? How soon do you do it? What does that look like?
Yeah, that one's always I struggle with that, to be quite honest. I always add them to my list of, I have an email list that I send out regularly. So I'll send that out, or I'll add them to that. If there is something that I owe them, I usually try to introduce them to somebody. So that's a nice follow-up. So it's like, hey, when we were together, you mentioned this. I'd like to introduce you to my friend Mark Carter, who does this for a living. He might be able to help you. Mark, please
Mhm.
meet, blah, blah, blah. So follow-ups on the connections that you can be helpful with them. That one's super powerful. I used to know a guy here in town in Chicago who he would send you 5 email introductions after meeting you once. And that was his name is Maury Feldman or something like that. And he would introduce me to so many people every time I met him. And he would follow up right afterwards. It was a little overwhelming for me because I couldn't follow up with 5 people. but um, but that's a great one. Like follow up and say, make the connection that you promised. Yeah, that's it. Maury Edelstein, Lynn.
Yep.
Uh, Follow up, add them to the list so that you get continued stuff, and then just sort of keep them in a bucket that says, when I'm thinking of this category, I want to remember this person's in it, and then I can share some stuff with them. I also invite them to the next events. I started a monthly email list where I would send to people and say, here's where I'm going to be for the next month. These are the events I'll be at. I'd love to have you join me. If there's other ones you think I should be at, please let me know. So that creates a little dialogue and openness that says, hey, these are the things that are important to me. What's important to you? And maybe I can see you at one of these things along the way.
So far, we've got some great stuff. I want to take a little break as far now that we know how to do the follow up. I would like to hear, as far as storytelling, your story. How did you become a connector? Because not everyone can, off the top of their head, think, oh, you need to know Mark, you need to know Chris. How did you come up and build a network so you could be a connector and not just a salesperson that talks to people to get a quick sale and walk away if you don't? What's your story with becoming a connector?
Um, I've done a little reflection on that, but probably have to do more. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, so my dad owned like different types of stores, and as kids, we sort of grew up in the back room, and eventually we were interacting with people right out of the gate. So from the time I could see over the counter, I was helping people. If it was a convenience store or an ice cream store they own, we were always sort of, so I got to hear people's I got to see people come up and learn their behaviors of what they do in those situations, how to make them feel welcome, how to kind of make them laugh, because laughter is the closest. What is it? The saying goes, laughter is the fastest way between two strangers. So I learned that growing up, and I guess it sort of made me fearless and not afraid to talk to anybody because I realize everybody's just a human, right? And they're all sort of just struggling to get through life. And, if we can find a little bit of joy along the way, we will remember that. So, um, I think that's it. Just being comfortable with ambiguity, being knowing that people want to be welcomed and talked to and listened to. Um, yeah, I think that's probably it. Again, then I moved from Michigan to Chicago and I didn't know anybody. And I had to, I was just thrown in, and this is not a unique story by any means. A lot of people do this, but you leave your hometown and you go somewhere where you don't know anybody, you just have to find your way. It's a little bit of a survival technique.
How did you find your way? I went through a similar thing. I never networked in Michigan, moved to Chicago, and I did cold calls in Michigan and realized, yeah, that's not going to help in downtown Chicago. There's this thing called networking I might want to check out. How did you do that coming into Chicago and not knowing anybody?
Well, when I came to Chicago, I was still in college, so I had no money and I was, eating warmed up canned food. So it was really, that part of it was that phase of my life. It was just, surviving with, knowing as many people as you could, get to know as many people you could in the same situation. But from a business perspective, it's what I did is I targeted the networking groups I thought I should be a part of. I went to all of them. I didn't discriminate. I went to as many as I can, and I like to say I kissed a lot of frogs looking for the prince. And eventually, what you do is if you go to a series of them 3 or 4 times, you get to know what the crowd's about, whether they can be helpful for you. And then you narrow it down. And the last 10 or 15 years, I've really been able to dial in the groups like ILEA and MPI that are helpful for my business and my personal development.
How did you do that? Because that's what I love the story, and I did the same thing. And a lot of people I know, you're multiple events a week. There's endless groups you can go to. So let's say you get in there, you do that, you're starting to build your network. How do you know when to pare back, and how do you pick, and I'll use air quotes, the right groups when there's so many to choose from? Because you can't keep that momentum up of going to 4 and 5 events a freaking week. How do you pare back and pick the right groups?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It's a lot of trial and error. I highly recommend if you think it's the right group for you, I recommend you get involved. So I don't know if NSA had this because I didn't go deep enough, but like your new members, if there's a committee to get on a committee, be the people that help make this and improve it and make it better. I remember coming to Chicago and I have a marketing background and I wanted to be part of the marketing association. I forget the name of it now, but it was like
Business
Chicagoland.
Marketing Association?
Yeah. So I wanted to be a part of that because I wanted to be around other people like me and help make it better because I thought, boy, there's a lot of stuff they're not doing that we should be doing. So yeah, you get involved in that and then you know, I have a thing where if somebody's going to complain about it, they now have to solve the problem. So I take that on another way where I uh join something where I think it's going to be a good group and then I get involved and I try to fix it or try to make it better. And that way you learn right away. You learn right away whether you fit or not, and then you can start to check off those boxes. And I did that, I think that's where you and I met. We both were on a
Mhm.
committee at ILEA, or sorry, at MPI, and we were doing our best to make that as good as it could. We had a lot of inertia going against us, but um, along the way we met some great people and did some cool stuff. So um, that's kind of what it is, a little trial and error, a little bit of uh, making mistakes. There were a lot of ones where I wasted way too much time because I thought it was going a direction and it just didn't. So it's all part of, I think life is like that, right? You got to have your failures, you got to learn from them, you got to kind of move on. So I would say trial and error, get involved and see if you can make a difference.
I'd love to unpack a part of that and tell me if I'm on point and I heard you right. And I'll use MPI because that is where we met on the marketing communications committee. And oh, I won't get into the uphill battles. We had them, we overcame them, we rock. As far as it goes, though, if I heard you right, are you saying that it's helping to solve problems for the organization you're getting involved with, not just take a leadership role for a title so it looks good in a database? But if I hear you right, and if I am on point, talk about how do you know what problems to solve? How can you become a problem solver and not just a title?
Yeah, well, I think I have a little saying that as Americans, our favorite pastime is belly aching. We like to belly ache about what's not working, what's not good. And as professional belly achers, it's easy for us to go into any situation and say, "Oh, they should be doing this better." How come they don't do more of these? And so I just decided at some point I was going to draw the line and say, rather than complain about it, I'm going to see if I can fix it. And I would just jump in and try to help, right? And part of that is finding like-minded people in that group that want to do it with you, because it becomes a little bit of a sales thing where you have to like, hey, look, I'm thinking about doing this. Would you be interested in helping with that? And that's kind of what you did with me at Marcom at MPI. It's like, hey, these are the things I'm trying to help. Is this something that you're interested in? And of course, I was like, yeah, you guys are right on track. Whatever I can do to help, Mark. So you took a leadership role and I followed you. And so that wouldn't have, I wouldn't have stuck around if that didn't happen, right? So to your credit, but I do, yeah. But to flip that, now that's what I do at other organizations, right? I say, hey, I want to fix this, and I go and I ask people if they'll help me, and if they're having the same sort of feeling about, boy, this would be much better if they did this, this, and this, and I can ask them to be a part of it. I think that's how you build momentum, and it's not always easy, and sometimes it doesn't work, but at least you get a compadre or two on your side, and you say, hey, we're going to help make this all work.
Well, talk a little bit, continue that train of thought when speak to the people that are in a leadership position, and and I'll use that term too. You use the term recruit. Talk a little bit more about how do you recruit them and reach out to them so it doesn't sound like, oh my God, here's another thing on my plate. I'm a busy How do you overcome that and successfully recruit people once you hit a leadership role?
Yeah, it's a great question. I tried a lot of different techniques, and I find the one that works the most, at least in the industry I'm in, is people want to help. So if you phrase it as if this is something I'm doing, but I need your help, would you be willing to help me? Then you get a little bit more openness. And as long as they understand their role, that's another key thing I learned. That it was easy, not easy, but I would often get people to join, and they're like, I just don't know what to do. Right? What do you need me for? So you have to give them a job, right? So when I was a VP of membership at ILEA, I was trying to get people to join, right? So I would just ask other people. I said, hey, I need a little help with this. Is there anybody you know that you could introduce me to so that might be interested in doing this? Would you be willing to help? I need some help with this committee. I need a few more members. Would you come help me do this? This is what we're trying to do. So it's really sort of asking them, inviting them, giving them an out, right? Like, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. Or the timing could be off. That's happened to me as well, where I just said, look, I'm on 3 boards. I can't join a fourth, right? Reach out to me in a year. So it's really about sort of inviting people to help, which they often like to do, and then giving them a job or a role that they can feel like they have some input and significance. They're providing a solution, helping you provide a solution.
Well, once you're out there, let's talk about storytelling now and continuing the same train of thought with the conversation. What are the components or how do you tell the story of an organization once you get involved? You have a little bit more intimate knowledge. Maybe you've taken a leadership role. What does a story of an organization look like to you? How do you share it?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? So many layers to this. Yeah, it's hopefully it's something that you're proud of and you want to do well. That's a good start. And then it's sort of having a bit of a vision in your head about what it should be, what it's not, and trying to get people on the train to help you do it. I'll give you a perfect real example that's happening right now. The reason I came back as a president of ILEA was I saw that there wasn't a good pipeline of the next generation. So I made it my point this year to find the next generation of leaders in the events professional world. So I'm looking for people in the 25 to 35 age group for two reasons. One, actually three. One, when I was coming up through the ranks, I had a group of people that I was with that were my peers that are all we leaned on each other all the time. We ended up growing our careers, getting into good big positions, sending each other work and doing, becoming friends over time. And now all of us are presidents of different organizations or have really big jobs or doing great things. And I don't see that cadre of people yet for that 25 to 35. There's a lot of reasons for that, COVID being one of them. But I want to create that group in the industry and have a try to replicate a similar experience for them, because then I can partner them with my peers and help accelerate their development.
Mm.
It's my belief that there's their gap in sort of this ability to go out and network, because COVID shut down a lot of people at a really interesting time in their careers, right? Like when you and I were first starting, we would get hired by a company and then some senior person would take us out with them on a call. We would, hang out and talk coffee afterwards or go for drinks. There's a whole group of people, there's an age group there that didn't have that opportunity. And to make it even worse, they were just stayed at home and they were insular. So if they had any kind of ability to move from an introvert to an extrovert, it didn't happen. It did the opposite. They went really introvert. So now the world's back open and they're trying to figure out, how do I do this? Where do I go? What do I say? So I want to work with a group of the people in that age group. I mean, 25 to 35 is kind of a rough estimate, right? It can be a little younger, a little older, but and really kind of help accelerate what we knew and what we did and what still works today, which is human contact, people to people, how to interact, how to build trust, and how to sort of navigate that world of ambiguity.
With that in mind, what stories have you found the younger generations are listening to?
Well, I said there's two or three reasons. The other reason was I want to learn what's making these folks tick, and I want to learn what's going to be successful. Uh, Communication style, meeting style, so forth. So I want to learn from them. So I'm learning right now. I don't have a good answer for you, but one of the things, there's a big non-drinking component, sustainability component, right? So I was commiserating the other day after an ILEA meeting. We used to go out for drinks after the meeting until like 1 or 2 in the morning and just have, builds camaraderie, end up really short. Yeah, right. It ends up building really interesting relationships and, builds um, comfort and reliability with the people that you know. And we used to have 20 people go. Last month we had 3 people go. And most of the people that we invited were the kind of the younger generation. And they basically just said, no, I got to get home to my cat or my dog. I had a long day. I'm just going to go rest up, or I'm going to go home and read. So that generation's just, it's a different switch than what we grew up doing. And I need to figure out how to create events for people like that, right? That want to go to, how to keep them motivated, what motivates them, how to connect them, what they define as success. Um, yeah, so I'm learning quite a bit right now. I had a fascinating meeting the other day with a group of people, and the topic was generational diversity, and it was so intriguing, so interesting. So, sorry, little
Oh,
side thing there.
well, no, with the side, pick one thing as far as with the side thing. What have they been listening to with your experimenting with events or helping understand how to make them successful? What have they been listening to?
Um, it's still unclear to me, Mark. I'm still listening. One of the key things is what communication channels do they use, right? Like for me, email works. Um, for them, sometimes it's text, sometimes it's Slack, sometimes it's um, whatever the Microsoft equivalent of that is. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Uh, um, yeah, it's so some people Instagram's a way to communicate. Some people it's Snapchat. So it's sort of like these different channels that we need to be aware of just to kind of stay in front of them, intrigue them, keep them interested. So that was one recent one that comes to mind is sort of communication channels. Um, it's
Nice.
Sort of like what we joke about our parents, right? Like you can't send them an email and they might check it a year later, or they might fall for scams that are so obvious to us. So that's one thing, communication. And then AI is a big one. Nobody quite knows where to put AI. There's a lot of promises there. I think it's the golden age of it or whatever, where you sort of this happened to us in our term is when the internet was coming, remember? Everybody had all these ideas about computers and internet, and it was like, wow, there's all these opportunities. Nobody really knew where to place their biggest bets, and that's what's going on with AI right now. So this younger generation is just trying to figure that out. And what is there? They know AI much quicker than I do. Like they'll say, "Oh, that's AI." I'm like, "Oh, didn't know that." And then they're figuring out how they can make it work for them. And they're trying a lot of stuff. It hasn't settled out yet, but so I'm just doing a lot of listening and letting them do the storytelling, which is probably my message here is, listen to other people, ask them what they're doing, because you learn a lot more that way, and then you figure out intersections where you can help them.
We have covered a lot of ground in a short period of time. When it comes to storytelling and networking, whether it's reinforcing something you already said or maybe a new point, if you're to, some people listening or watching right now, they're like, I love it, a lot of good ideas. If you were to say, when it comes to storytelling and networking, at least do this one thing, at least do this, what would you tell people to do?
Find common ground for the person and then share your stories together. There's it kind of take it back to sitting around the fireplace or the fire pit and everybody just kind of kicking stories around. I just love it. You got to listen for where the intersections are and where the commonalities are, because that creates a lot of trust, a lot of familiarity, and I think creates the story together versus I have a story to tell and I want to hear your story. We're sort of creating, maybe that's it. Maybe it's just sort of creating a story together by listening to each other's journeys and figure out where the crossroads are.
I love it, Jeff. And before we go back to the main room, if people want to find you online, where's the best place or places to go?
Oh, great question. Let's see. I got Snapchat. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, LinkedIn's probably the best. Maybe I can share the QR code. I've got 2 LinkedIn profiles out there because one's for my professional pre-event life and one's for my event life. So the one that says Jeff V. Durocher for LinkedIn, V for Vegas. You can always find me online with brightlightevents.com and send an email to events there and you can find me. Or reach out to my friend Mark, who's really well connected, knows a lot of people. He can connect us.
I'll take care of you. Thank you very much, Jeff. We appreciate you making the time to do this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And Tara, you can unpin us now. Go to the main room. Now it's just Big Jeff. Who had virtual hand? Who had at least one? I'm hoping we got this. Who had at least one takeaway from that? An aha moment, a takeaway? I see a few. Let's start with Christy. What was a takeaway for you, Christy?
I think it really had to do with trying to because several people also posted this in chat, but it's how to open up a conversation with like nothing, like with no real clues, and yes, just putting yourself out there, and inviting people to join your conversation or the event or the screen.
Nice. That's awesome. CJ, takeaway.
Yeah, I liked the fact that he was saying how chatting and talking with the people with 2 questions gets them to soften up to the point where they might actually just follow you around at that point because they're starting to feel comfortable. And in a setting where they're not comfortable, you become their point of comfort. The thing interesting for me is that I have a follow-up question to that. because I've realized now that has happened. So that's very true. Uh, but sometimes you, after those two questions, you're like, okay, this is not the kind of person I want to hang with. How do you get the heck away from them tactfully?
Yeah, so my technique, CJ, is that I introduce them to whoever I'm standing next to, and then I slip away, right?
That's
Because
all right.
yeah,
He's done that to me. Dang it. I
yeah,
knew there was a trick there. That's why you introduced me to so many people.
yeah. I mean, it's a plus for them, right? It's like, oh, have you met so and so? So then you just introduce them real quick to them, or you bring them over to meet somebody that you haven't met, and then you kind of ask that person a couple questions, and then you kind of sneak away.
Good.
Yeah, that's a
Thank
hard
you.
one. I do teach people. I do teach how to end a conversation. I actually have these little flip cards I have that I give people that are some of the questions are green for like how do I get into a conversation, and some are red, how do I get out of a conversation? And that's
That's
that's one of the
great.
techniques. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome advice. Catherine, what's on your mind?
I need to get out more. It was just a reminder, Jeff, that I, it was COVID. I used to be a busy and eager networker. And then during COVID, everything shut down or went virtual. And I've never gotten back in the habit of going to events and meeting people in person. That's really not good for me personally or professionally. So the whole conversation was a reminder to me to get out of my office and meet people in person.
You got a great story to tell, I'm sure, Catherine. So
Well,
go ask
yes,
them.
I'm going to be telling it on stage at the Skokie Theater if I can slip in a promotion for our
Smart, yeah.
event, Martina and Company. Um, and yes, storytelling is a good thing. And I like to think I'm a good listener as well. I was a talk show host after all, and I called it a listen show.
Nice. Mr. Rogers, what you thinking?
It was all great, but I got to say, I love the idea of showing up early at a location. I am not an early arriver, and so you walk in, it's cold, it's a little bit hard to sort of get the networking juices flowing. But showing up early and being a quasi member of the welcoming committee, brilliant. Love that. You stand by the door. Well, come on in. Come on. What's your name? Now, what are you doing? As soon as you said that, I was like, that's absolutely my new go-to move. Love that idea.
Yeah, Audrey liked that idea too. She put it in the chat.
Nice. Karen, what was your
Yeah,
takeaway?
for me, it's all about mindset. So I love networking. I'm in 2, 3 networking events every day, every week, and it energizes me. Like if you go in with I want to help people, and what really resonated, listen with the intent to help others. That's why we network. We're coming in not selling our products or services. We are here to support others. So thank you for sharing.
Glad you had a good takeaway there. Anything else to add to that, Jeff, to be a giver?
No, I just found it to be really helpful, right? You just need to listen. Uh, I'm not even there to sell my stuff. If I know somebody else who can help that person, I'm trying to connect those two people. So it really sort of expands what you have to offer if you think about other people in your network and who you can introduce them to make them, help them with an issue that they're struggling with.
Nice. Martina, your turn.
I wanted to agree with you all in what Karen just said about going into it with how can I help? And just now I had to turn my camera off and answer the door because this arrived. Is that not gorgeous? From someone that I helped get started. She needed some connections and I connected her, and it's very rewarding to do so. So leading with how can I help versus what can I find out that will help me, I think is really powerful.
Great.
Jeff, do you actually ask them how can I help you, or do you go about it a little more covertly?
Yeah, more covertly. I'm just yeah, just start the conversation with whatever it is, like, the line's long, or is this the only place to get a drink, or, that type of thing to start it off. And then and then I ask them questions, and as I'm listening for questions there, it's like, you know, I'm thinking who can I introduce them to help. And not every situation creates that opportunity, but I think just having that mindset to listen for ways to be helpful opens more opportunity.
Very cool. And a blast from my past, Mr. Jonathan Pitts. Nice to see you. What are you thinking?
My takeaway was changing me into we.
Nice. I love that.
Everybody is walking into that place alone. Usually they've left their car or they've left their hotel room and they're there by themselves. So there's an aloneness there. But through those greetings, through those meetings of people, you are walking away with maybe 4 or 5 people that you didn't know before. So and through what Jeff is suggesting how to do is he's being the conduit of going from me into we. That's my takeaway.
I might steal that, Jonathan. That's brilliant, but it's right on point.
Uh, Go ahead, trademark it. It's yours.
Before I surrender the floor to Terry, any final closing thoughts? I see some stuff going on in chat. Any closing thoughts or questions for Jeff Durocher? I will hand the floor back to Terry for the membership benefits.
Well, first, Mark, I'm going to make my little comment. Jeff, that was wonderful information. And I actually my biggest takeaway from that was find the common ground and then create your stories from there. That brings you a unity together that's going to be inseparable after that. So it's something logical and simple, and I think sometimes we overthink it. But that was a great comment to buttonhole it with. Now, speaking of buttonholing, I am going to introduce you to a member of NSA National. Her name is Allie Pleider, and she is here to tell us all about the benefits of national membership. And she would know about that because you know who she is? She is the chair of the National Leadership Membership Committee. I think I got them all right. Might have got them in the wrong line. Chapter Leadership Committee. There you go. Allie, without any further ado, I'm giving the floor to you.
Thank you. I'm actually the chair of the chapter leaders committee, so I am chair of the support arm for all of the chapter presidents.
So I made it more difficult than it was.
Hey, that's all right. But I actually am a longtime member of NSA Illinois. It is so lovely to see so many colleagues that I generally only get to see at the national events. But I'm here in my capacity as a member of the Chapter Leadership Council, which is to talk to you about why it is that I make the choice to invest in a national membership in addition to a local chapter membership. And so being a good speaker, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's make sure it works. Let's see. Oh, good. You are seeing what you're supposed to see. Don't you love it when Zoom does what it's supposed to? No,
you weren't here earlier, Allie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, gee, that never happens, right? Never to me. So anyway, I want to share with you some of the benefits that I have found from the national membership. First of all is the digital vault, and that is enormous and probably one of the biggest benefits of national membership, and one of the few that's really only open to national members. This is a literal vault of all kinds of digital video templates, information. If you need fast information, if you need a contract template, if you need a resource on how to connect your prospects into actual clients, any kinds of things. There are a million kinds of subjects. They are working on making it slightly better to navigate, so watch for some changes in that in the coming months. But I probably dip into the National Vault probably on a monthly, if not a weekly basis. You can, I love the person who said it speeds up my mistakes, so I know what not to do and get a little bit faster in terms of how to grow my business. So that's the Digital Vault. And then, of course, there's the conference member pricing. I think most of us realize that conferences Yes, there's education that happens, and that's certainly worth the investment. But the other piece that happens at conferences is those sort of hallway conversations that connect you. I can tell you the two largest contracts, the two largest events that I did over the last 2 years, both of them were results of conversations that were had at Influence, at Thrive. And to be able to do that, if you look at the membership pricing and you do the Thrive and the Influence in one purchase, it's actually a enormous savings. And even if it weren't an enormous savings, that is an investment I don't hesitate to make. I love when Mark Hunter said, I don't spend money to go to Influence, I earn money by going to Influence. And those of you who are going to Thrive next weekend in New Orleans, you already know that. But the kind of membership discounts that you get for those events, you can go if you're not a member, no worries, but it's also, you've got a discount pricing. One of the benefits that's growing by leaps and bounds right now is the NSA marketplace. And I find this one particularly valuable because I don't know about you, but my LinkedIn and my email are filled with people dying to take my money to offer some kind of service that I don't know if I can trust them. So the NSA marketplace not only is sort of a vetted marketplace, and there'll be some more vetted vendors coming into that, but each of the vendors that you see in the marketplace offers some kind of benefit. The Zoom one is the one that I use. I have been using since it was offered. There's a pretty significant savings for you in either the basic enterprise version or the next level up. You get a discount by being an NSA member at that. The new member cohorts are where you can meet people at the same business level where you are. It's not just all the new members are thrown into one group. There are people who are stratified by the size of their business or their topic so that you can quickly connect with people. I love Mic Swap. Those of you who have ever been in an advanced Toastmasters group, I remember the one in Chicago that I always was part of, where you can do some speed networking like we just talked about. And I sort of lump that together with the speaker's open mic, where you can take a piece of your presentation that you need to kick the tires on and present it digitally in front of a lot of people who will probably have some pretty good ideas how to improve it. So those are really just my quick take of the tangible benefits of becoming an NSA member. I went back and sort of looked at the places where my business grew in the last 3 years, and I can draw a pretty direct line back to some NSA function, not only within my local chapter, because now I'm here in South Carolina. I fled Chicago for the warmth of South Carolina 3 years ago. But I can talk back to some colleague that I met that I probably would not have had access to if I didn't have a national membership. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, come on, let's go. Is it going to let me go? Yes, it is. Are what I call the intangible benefits, the things that aren't going to show up on your balance sheet or your profit and loss statement if you're starting to do your taxes like I am. One of those is the professional perception of being a national NSA member. Like the vendors that we're all getting besieged with, I don't think there's any doubt in any of our minds that speakers bureaus, and event planners are getting besieged by everybody who can claim themselves to be a subject matter expert right now. If you can talk about that you're a member of the National Association, the NSA speakers, there is a perceived professional perception that I think is becoming more and more valuable as an asset just because of the amount of noise that's out there. And I think that most of us who've been in the business, even for a short period of time, understand that this is a referral business. I get almost all of my speaking engagements from someone else who said, oh, hey, you want to talk about storytelling, or you want to talk about authorship, you need to speak to Allie Plater. She can come in and do something. Again, because there's all this noise out there. The referral, the, hey, I know her, she's good stuff. You're going to get a quality presentation. Whether you're another professional or an event planner who realizes, boy, if they bomb on stage, it's on me, right? I need to make sure I have someone who's really going to deliver value. Those referrals are becoming more and more and more important. And also, I think for what I call the broader colleague reach, which is this, there's people that I know within my own within my own sort of topic, or there are people that I know within my field of expertise or even my geographic area. But a lot of times there's something that I need to know. Someone came to me yesterday and said, we want to do an author's mastermind. Well, sure, I'm an author, but I've never run an author's mastermind. But the broader network of the national organization, I was able to point her to other chapters who had run author masterminds or other speakers who ran author masterminds. So that my Rolodex, anybody remember what a Rolodex is? My Rolodex now is so much larger because of the national organization. So that's really my take on what I think the national organization brings to us. But I'm also happy to answer any questions or if anyone else wants to chime in as to how the National Speakers Association, as opposed to just a local chapter, has increased their career or strengthened their career. I think it's a great conversation to have.
Feel free, anyone that wants to chime in and say something. While you're thinking about that for a second, Allie, you moved away from Chicago. Did you take the bad weather with you? Because it's been pretty chilly down there of late too, hasn't it?
We did get a lot of grief about having brought because it snowed significantly here 2 weekends ago for the first time in many, many years. Yes, we got a lot of grief as to brought it. The big joke was that we very intentionally sold both our snowblower and our snow shovel. And ended up having to brush with a broom the snow off of our driveway. And you couldn't get a snow shovel to save your life here in South Carolina. So, yeah, that has been the topic of positive and negative conversation around here lately.
I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist.
Still, it wasn't 27 below where we were, even when it was bad for you all. We're like, well, it's okay. We're still above, everybody panics when it gets below 10 here. So,
Oh goodness, yes indeed. Anyone have any questions? Because I think just the last several things that Allie was mentioning are really key and important. And when you go to thrive and influence, that is where a lot of that will occur as well. And intangible, just extremely valuable, as it were. And we were just talking about networking. That's an ideal place to do it as well.
Well, interesting that you should talk about the generational pieces of it, and that I think some of us who have been around for a while remember the value of network and getting out there and putting yourself into relationship with other people, and that's one place where we can start bringing along the younger people who maybe aren't joiners by nature. But we can articulate why it makes sense to join the association and what you get out of it. I'm slowly seeing at that last influence, it was, I believe, 40% first-time attendees. It was some really astounding number that I think we were all really excited to see.
Yeah, and Allie, I don't think this needs to be said, but I will say it anyways in case anyone's thinking. If you join national, that doesn't mean you can't still be involved in Illinois as well.
Well, I guess I'm living proof, right? Yeah, you always want to do both.
Yeah.
There's so many different dynamics to the relationship, and I'm a member of the Carolinas chapter as well as national, so I'm a big believer in both.
Yeah, yeah, they work well together. Your chapter and national work wonderfully together, so you don't have to have one over the other.
No.
Have we got any other questions? I know Veronica had a question, but it was already answered. She wanted to know the price point for it, and Linda was really nice and gave her the link right to it. So excellent.
Yeah, any of these member benefits, you might have seen it at the top of the slide, is at nsaspeaker.org member benefits. So it's really easy to find. It'll show you everything in the vendor marketplace. It'll show you all the benefits of membership, and it'll give you a quick link to join.
Excellent. Excellent. So anyone who's considering it, we do have several members that could give you upfront and personal answers as well. Or you can just go on and ask questions on national as well. They'll be more than happy to help you out along the way. or Allie.
I was about to say, I'll put my email in the chat and you all
Yeah, I
can
was gonna
answer.
say, Allie will be more than happy. She offered that email to me when we were talking about her coming on, so she's putting it on for everybody else. So if you have any questions, do not hesitate. But I will say this much: if you do join National, make sure you let them know you're associated with NSA Illinois.
Very
It
important.
helps us out as well.
And did you all catch that I said y'all just now? I'm
You didn't say
slowly
use
gathering
guys?
No, it's very funny. You guys is an instant Chicago thing. Y'all is here.
There was a question to see if it's mainly virtual, if the meetings are mainly virtual for NSA.
Oh.
There are no national meetings except the national events. If you're talking about, I'm trying to think, chapter, did she spend a lot more time on connecting flights to get her kids?
No, I meant you moved to North Carolina. Chicago is a transportation hub. Are you basically a Zoom presenter? Otherwise, aren't you spending a lot more time just connecting to get to know wherever you want to go for your gigs?
No, actually, Charlotte is an American hub. So I had to switch my allegiance from United to American, but that was also because my daughter married an American Airlines pilot. So even if I hadn't moved to an American Airlines hub, I would have had to have done that. No, many direct flights from Chicago. I loathe connecting flights, so I would never have moved someplace that would have brought those into my schedule on a large scale.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, if we don't have any other questions, I would like to thank Allie on behalf of everyone at NSA Illinois for giving us some of her time this morning instead of being out in the lovely South Carolina weather. Ours is nice. We're going to be in the 50s today, kiddo.
We were in the 50s when I walked my dog 2 hours ago, so I'll just
be quiet.
Smug. I'll just be smug that way. But also, I suppose I should say, if you are ever stuck in the Charlotte airport, feel free to give me a call. We are quite close by design, and always happy to help out a fellow speaker.
Nice. Well, thank you very much, Allie. I'm giving you a round of applause, and so are several other folks along the way. And now, I guess what I will do is see if Mark Carter and Jeff Rogers are ready to get back into some interviews.
We're a little shy, but we'll give it a shot. We'll try.
Well, then I'm going to pass it back over to you guys, Mark.
We just need. There he is.
There it is.
I was going to say it's not going to be fun having me ask and answer all the questions myself. That gets a little weird. So I'm glad you're here, Jeff. And to introduce Jeff Rogers is an award-winning keynote speaker, two-time TEDx presenter, best-selling author, inaugural National Speakers Association Last Story Standing National Champion, a Virtual Speaker Hall of Fame inductee, and former Second City company member who helps people rethink the stories that shape how they work, lead, and live. For more than 3 decades, Jeff has worked with organizations to unlock creativity, confidence, and momentum by showing teams how to challenge limiting narratives and write a stronger inner story. Today, Jeff will invite us to look at the story we tell ourselves and how changing that story can change what's possible. Please welcome me and join me in welcoming Jeff Rogers. Jeff, thank you for making the time to do this.
You're welcome.
And we're going to get into more about what you do and all that good stuff. I got to ask you, like I asked the other Jeff, the first one, what do you love with everything you're doing? What do you love most about it?
I really love connecting with people. I mean, on the same way maybe as Jeff does. It's funny because, he was saying that he wasn't as strong or didn't have as much confidence in the moments when he's with big groups. That's literally where I am the most confident in a nice big group of people. I grew up with a family of 11 kids. I don't know not having an audience. I mean, literally, we had a small theater in our kitchen that was somebody was always on or doing something that everybody else was either commenting on or participating in. So big groups are where I feel most at home, and that scales into the thousands and 10,000s, that I've had the good fortune to be able to perform for. So that really is my sweet spot.
What do you love most about big? I get the history. What do you love most about big groups now? What is it? Is it dynamics, the energy? What is it?
Yeah, oh, it's both. When you're doing a presentation, I always consider it a dialogue. So you are getting all of that energy and feedback from a large audience. And when we're in a large audience, there is a dynamic that takes place where we react as one. When a big laugh comes through and it rolls to the back of the house and then it rolls back to the front, there are certain things that I can innately sort of sense about a large audience that brings them closer together to create an experience. Springsteen talks about this idea, and really, it's me and Springsteen. I mean, it's same. But he talked about it in a way that I thought was the first time I'd heard somebody sort of put it into words. And what he's going for is that sort of almost religious experience, that idea of hitting a space where none of us have been before and to do it together and to experience that moment all together as a group. That's special. And so that really is what I'm attempting to do, is to create an experience for the entire group that is both individual and personal, and something that we all experience together that binds us to each other. And when I can hit that, that's what I absolutely love. That moment of pure human clarity that occurs on that level.
Let's rewind a little bit to not just before you get on stage, but going back. We're talking about the stories you tell yourselves. And when you came up with this topic, I loved it because it's an original, unique one. When did you first realize that what you do outward starts inward? When did you first realize you were telling yourself stories? What did that look like?
Oh, I think, I mean, as a very young kid, I absolutely was someone who was enthralled by all the different books and stories that I read. And when you read a story, you immediately put yourself into that story. You're experiencing it. Literally, your brain can't tell the difference. 90% of your brain believes, oh, this is me. I'm experiencing this. And so as a young kid reading comic books or adventure novels, all the great, novels of, that the adventures of Tom Sawyer, or adventures of Huck Finn, Tom Sawyer, all of the books that kind of take you as a kid and put you, Captain's Courageous, put you into these great adventures. Well, now you've read about it. 90% of your brain believes it's true, and you want to go seek those adventures in other places. And so I think you start thinking of yourself. I started thinking of myself as someone who was an explorer, as an adventurer, looking to experience all of these incredible aspects of the world, and having fun with that. And so as a very young kid, I realized that I could shape the situation around me by how I was thinking about it as a story. I didn't formalize that until much later, obviously, as an adult. But that's what I realized as an adult, and within the past, probably 10, 20 years, is that that's what I was doing as a kid, was that I was painting these stories all around me all the time and having these great experiences and great adventures. And that I was actually creating the reality that I was living in, which is what we do by the stories that we tell ourselves, for good or bad, for to boost ourselves or to limit ourselves. And that's the key, is being able to understand when we're using our stories as blocks and when we're using them as pathways.
Okay, fast forward to it. You mentioned it changed, or you realized it when you became an adult. What were the stories or the adventures you went on, or stories you told yourself as an adult when you were cognizant of, okay, I'm creating some kind of story, I'm creating my own reality? What did that look like as an adult early on?
I think early on it looked like, well, my background is as a performer, as an actor, as an improviser. I worked at Second City. I came up with folks like Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert and Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, and I'm just going to keep dropping names because I got them. Okay, I don't get to throw them down all the time, so boom. But what was wonderful about that is the idea that there were no limitations. We were in the business of exploring everything. And once you take that cap off, I found that I was able to apply that in any area. So when I would go on an audition for Friends, when I went on an audition for The Office for the Steve Carell role, right? It didn't ever occur to me that I wouldn't get it, because of course I will get it. By the way, I didn't get it. Spoiler alert. But the idea of going for it and doing it, because why not? Why can't you do this? Why wouldn't you do this? And so that freedom of not limiting what I thought of where I could end up and what I could do really has been the way that I've approached everything. And so a little bit later on, the idea of, during the pandemic, I think it was actually it was prior to the pandemic, attending Harvard. I got very into this idea of innovation and design thinking and started really doing a lot of study around it. Well, Harvard was offering a certificate class about design thinking and innovation. Oh, well, that would be something that I can do. Why can't I go to Harvard? Why wouldn't I be able to attend? Well, I did. And then I went to Stanford and I went to MIT. And in fact, all of those programs had something very different to them, and I brought a very different thing to them as well. That ability to tell my story, that I could go and do those things. Actually, in the MIT class, my partner and I, our team, was out of 60 global teams, one of the top 3 teams to finish the projects, and interviewed by the professor at MIT. But only because why not? Why couldn't we be? And it really does come down to that idea of the story is, well, I couldn't do that. I can't do that. And my question for every story is, well, why not? And what would it look like if you did? What if you told yourself the story that you could do that? You are capable of doing that. And so there's a lot of great science behind it as well. I don't want to jump ahead, but there's a lot of great science behind it that actually shows this type of thinking and the story that you tell yourself really does create the reality that you live in.
Talk a little bit more about that. The Office edition, the other ones. You mentioned that you went for it. You didn't think you could fail. When it comes to going for it and striving towards something, unpack it. What kind of stories are you telling yourself? What are you saying to yourself to make yourself actually make a leap, take action, and go for it?
Well, I'll tell you what, if it's all right, I'll talk about the last story standing competition, right?
Yeah.
Because that's something we're all pretty familiar with. I think some people get the idea of what an audition is like for television, for network, and for getting those calls and everything. And I've had some success with that, with commercials and some television shows as well. But I think the last story standing, everybody can sort of understand that process, right? Because we've explained it pretty well. During that process, my initial, touching on what Allie and Jeff were saying earlier, my initial goal in that was just to get to know people. I had just joined NSA and I thought, oh, I'll join this and I'll get to meet some of the other storytellers. And, this is a perfect way to do it. This is a low stakes way of getting to know other people, right? This is fantastic. Mm-hmm. Once I got to the regional level and I had won the regional level, then I got to the point of, okay, now I want to win this. Now I do want to win. Now the competition, the competitive aspect is building up in me. The thing that I did from the moment I decided now I'd like to win this is I started visualizing myself winning, telling the story the best that I could. Now I was still doing the work, right? I was still working on the story, polishing it, taking input, creating the story, ironing out sentences, do the work. But the other side of it was definitely telling myself the story and visualizing the process of winning for myself. And what became very interesting is when I did win, up on stage, if you watch a video, I don't know if that video is around, but if you watch the video of me, I don't get giddy. I don't jump up and down. I don't, start, oh my God, this is so. I just sort of nod because I had lived it 1,000 times. I had lived that moment 1,000 times. I knew exactly what was going to happen. I knew it before I told the story. I knew it as soon as I walked on stage, because I had lived it, and it was absolutely going to happen. And that was a story that I wrote in my head. The entire process of me telling the story, hitting my moments, and then literally receiving the trophy from Bert, that whole thing happened in my head well before it ever happened. Now, did it go exactly as I saw it? Absolutely not. At one point, I forgot where I was in my story. I literally was like, I'm lost. I don't know what's next. A laugh took too long, and I got off my rhythm. I was like, I wonder what I'm going to do now. So I improvised a little bit, and then I found my way back into my rhythm. But that idea of telling myself and assuring myself that I was going to win this thing, and I was going to do great telling my story, gave me the confidence not to. I mean, obviously, I've got 30 years as an improviser. I wasn't going to panic, but I didn't get in my head about it. I didn't get worried. There was no concern about it whatsoever when I fell off. At 7 seconds, I looked down and realized I've got at least 15 to 20 seconds left, and I've got 7 seconds left on the clock. And again, I didn't panic. I didn't, because I had won. I already won. I know that this turns out well. So now I am going to just speed up what I'm doing, right? And if you can tell my tempo in the story itself, I had planned on doing it da-dun, da-dun, da-da. Instead, I end the story da-da, da-da, da-da. And just get it done. Get it in there 5 seconds. So it's a powerful tool to use, and you can use it on anything, but there are some things that you should be using it on.
That is an awesome story of success. If some people watching, listening right now, as far as, let's rewind a little bit. If someone's realizing, wow, maybe I am, they haven't realized the full effect that you're always telling yourself some kind of story, even if it's unconscious, subconscious, whatever you want to call it. When someone realizes, wow, stories are affecting my life, what I tell myself affects my outer world. How do you start to tell the right ones? How do you get rid of the negative ones?
Yeah, that's the key, right, Mark? That really is, that's where the power lies. And so we tell ourselves in our head about 40,000 to 60,000 things a day. We have 40,000 to 60,000 thoughts firing in our brain every day. Where our thoughts fire, right? It creates neural pathways. Our thoughts create neural connections in our brain. We literally, out of nothing, create a neural pathway from merely having a thought. The more we have that thought, the larger that pathway and the stronger that pathway becomes, until it becomes a habit. You just think it. So the thing is, we're creating our reality. I'm not kidding about the fact that we're literally out of nothing creating it with the story we're telling ourselves. I can't do X, or I'm not good at Y. But the reality is, you're telling yourself that story. What if you change that story? So the first place to start with that is your values. What do you want to be good at? What do you want to consider to be your highest form of self, right? What's the best Jeff I can be? And what are the values that I want to align to that make me feel like I'm doing the best job I can in this, meat sack, and contributing to the universe, right?
Yep.
Sorry for the graphic language. But the idea of those values, allowing those values to be the center point. Okay, now how do I branch off of that into what I want to do and how I want to comport myself? So now I've got my values. Your values then become your cornerstone, and now you build your beliefs. And a lot of people think that your beliefs create your actions, right? Your beliefs inform your actions. Well, it also works the other way around. And that's personally where I found improvisation study to be the perfect tool and vehicle for this, is to dive before you look, right? Leap before you look. So, because the reason for that is if you start building up all of this information in your head about how, oh, if I leap, I'm going to get hurt, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to be made a fool of, I'll feel silly, I'll be, blah, 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 you will stop yourself from ever taking that chance. When really the most information and the best data comes from doing a thing, even poorly. It's not win or lose, it's win or learn. And you're able to take actual information and put it back into your head of, oh, here's what I did wrong there. I understand that I could have done this better. Or, oh, look how this went. Oh, this is great. Now I know how to do this and this. I wonder if I could take this and now do this. So that idea of creating the beliefs through both action and your values, now you're informing how you're going to tell yourself that story. Right? And so instead you're open to the story being told that you want to tell, as opposed to what most of us do, which is we take the handed down story from our parents, right? And that makes up a lot of our outlook. And this is nothing against parents. I'm a parent. Our job is to keep our kids safe until 18, right? And then they're kind of independent and maybe 25 but it's limited. So we're doing everything we can to keep them safe. Except the thing is we also have to raise them to be independent explorers of the world. And to be an explorer, you have to be able to risk things. Mm-hmm. So you're teaching them how to mitigate risk, and we take that, and then that becomes of our old school operating system. From when we're 2 years old, we're taking that data and we're saying, oh, I'm not good at this, or oh, I should be careful of this, or oh, I need to be warned about this. And we're operating as 40 and 50 and 60-year-olds, 30-year-olds, as off of that old operating system. And remember, if it fires together, it wires together. That pipeline gets bigger and bigger and stronger and stronger. By aligning yourself to your values and taking actions that your beliefs don't necessarily line up with, taking action first, what you do is you create this alternative story. And that gives you this much space. Mm-hmm. And if you can get that much space between what you've been telling yourself and what you want to be true, you can decide what is actually true. Most people spend so much time defending their limits that they, create the hobby of, I am absolutely not able to do this thing. It's like, yeah, well, certainly you're not if you keep telling yourself you're not. But if you tell yourself you can and are going to try and do it, and you come on the other side of that and don't get it. So now I'll tell the Steve Carell story. The idea of, I went in for The Office. At the time, I was a pretty hot Chicago actor, and in fact was about to move out to LA. I had booked a lot of commercials. I came from Second City. I had impersonated President Clinton on CNN. I had directed a hot show that ran for years in Chicago. Like, there was a lot of creative juice behind me. And I'm auditioning for this show. I had already auditioned for Friends and had gotten discussions about that, but didn't get cast. So I'm up for The Office and I'm auditioning for it. And I did everything that I'm talking about here and I didn't get it. Mm-hmm. But none of my story was wrong. It's just that my story took a turn, right? There was a chapter I didn't know yet that was ahead of me. So my story in my head is I get cast and I go and do that show. I was actually familiar with the BBC Ricky Gervais version of it prior to it coming to the US. So I knew the show. Had a great audition, by the way. I was killer in that audition. But I didn't get it.
Go back a little bit. You mentioned taking a leap. And I love it because it's a story you tell yourself and you can always learn. But when you're on the ledge and you're looking down, what story or stories, and this could be your personal one, it could be advice, what are you telling yourself to actually make the leap? There's looking at it and thinking I might do it, and then there's boom, I'm going to do it and I'm going to make the leap. What stories help you make the leap? What does that look like?
It's I can fly. If I'm standing on the cliff and I'm the story I'm telling myself is I can 100% fly. Because I don't know I can't fly until I take that leap. Number one. Number two, what if I can fly? But the other part of that, right? So that's a little bit of the extreme positivity. The other part of it is, man, I've done a lot of work. I have really learned and studied, and I've got a ton of experience, and I have all of the elements that I think are necessary in order for this to work. And I have prepared myself for this moment. And even if it doesn't go well, even if it doesn't go the way I want it to go, I'm going to come out of this with a lesson that's going to prepare me for the next time. And that doesn't mean that I stink. That doesn't mean that I'm bad. That doesn't mean that it doesn't mean all of those things that I want to pull from my old operating system over, to be scared, to be afraid of risk. No, just means that this wasn't part of the story. Any of the writers in the room have done, if you're a writer, you've been there writing when all of a sudden your hands and your mind and everything starts going a different direction. It's like, whoa, what's going on right now? Where is this coming from? Holy cow, this is gold. Or, oh my God, this is awful. I don't want this in the book. I'm going to stop writing after I'm done here. But this is really, it comes from somewhere else. And it's okay because you're letting it come through you. And then you can decide afterwards whether or not this is a valid thought to have. But while you're in the midst of it, that's not the time to start editing. You can only do one thing at a time. And, that's what the whole thing with multitasking, they disproved the idea of multitasking because you can't. Your brain can only work on one thing at a time. You can fast switch, right? But you can't multitask. Very few people can. So the point is, when you're being creative, be creative. When you're telling yourself a story, tell yourself that story. You can edit the story later. But right now, tell yourself the story that's aligns with your values and will get you to where you want to go, not to where you think you should go.
Well, keeping on the same train of thought, once you've had some success, how do you get yourself to not become complacent with, oh, I won the National Story Standing or I got cast on a show? How do you keep taking leaps? What do those stories look like so you don't just become complacent with good enough and I've made it? How do you not just make it and stay still?
Yeah, I don't know. I totally stayed still. No, I'm just kidding.
How did you?
No, it is a little bit of work, right? Because but that's when you go back to your values. One of my values is consistency. And I've only developed this consistently over years, is that idea of you want to keep on applying yourself towards the goal, the next goal, whatever that is. So if you can keep on applying yourself, then you sort of, again, that pathway becomes stronger. So you get out of the habit of reaching a plane and taking a break, right? Because you want to keep on moving. Now, it's not always going to go in the direction, but you want to trend in the direction that you want to go and to the goal that you want to reach, the mountaintop, whatever that is. That's a whole, that's sort of the path that you're building, right? I always say that every thought, every decision is a brick, and you're building, a castle to your values or a pathway to your personal prison, and you get to decide where you live. Consistency is what gives you the next brick, right? The next brick needs to be laid, the next brick that you're building on to wherever it is you're deciding to live. And so that idea of it's great to win those things. It's great to get the call. Yeah, we want you to speak at our event. Great. I still got to reach out to 5 people today. It's great to get hey, we want you to do that workshop. And not only that, but we want you to do it 5 times over the course of the year for us. This is going to be a big contract. Great. I still got to wake up tomorrow and work on the next kind of workshop, the next iteration of this workshop I'm going to start building. Because I'm consistently trying to improve and drive through with consistency, right? It's never the goal. It's always the journey. And always be on the journey. Enjoy the journey. Because the goal is one off. The journey is every day.
Unpack that a little more. Let's use the bricklaying analogy. How do you know what bricks to lay down and to get towards the top of the mountain or towards the goal and not just go in 10 different directions? How do you know what bricks to lay down each day?
Yeah, you have to be okay with not being 100% right all the time. I mean, I'm not laying the right bricks every day. In fact, there's a lot of days where I'll come up with a whole project, a book. I've written a book that I haven't published that I just thought, it's not that good. I spent a lot of time on it. And just because I have sunk costs into it, right, with time and effort and creativity, doesn't mean that it's the thing that I need to put out there. So it's okay to experiment. We're supposed to experiment and find out, is this the next helpful brick to lay? And there will be, and you keep on pivoting, right? It's like that old story that I think I heard it from Tony Robbins, is that if you're flying from Chicago to LA, right, and you just keep it on one course the entire time, well, the wind will blow you enough that you'll end up landing in San Francisco, right? You have to keep on course correcting and pivoting and making sure that you're on the same course that you want to be on. And so you have to do the same thing with the bricks that you're laying. Some paths will lead to, kind of a dead end. That's all right. It's not a waste of time. I learned a ton from the book that I wrote. I learned a lot of great lessons that I now can port over into that I needed to learn in order to do the next thing I wanted to do. And I've always seen those kinds of experiences as data, as more data to feed into. Okay, but again, it's all right if I take a dip in one of the areas that I'm working on, because as long as I'm trending in the right direction, I have no expectation of constantly being on the way, of never making a mistake. I absolutely am going to be buffeted by the winds of change and circumstance. My reaction to those and the story I tell myself, not that, oh, well, of course that happened to me, I always have bad luck. Nope. That's a story. That's a story you're telling yourself. Or this always happens to me. Nope. No. A better way to tell that story? I have lived through worse than this. This is not going to throw me off. I am way more powerful than this. I have so many more gifts than this knocking me off my journey. I'm going to keep going. So that story that you tell yourself becomes that larger pathway. And now all of a sudden you're capable of achieving that goal, or all the goals that you want to achieve in some form or another.
Before we close, let's talk about this for a second. How and when do you celebrate success? Because it can't always be, the next brick, the hard, keep on keeping on, the struggle. I'm imagining, and tell me if I'm on point, you got to stop and celebrate successes along the way. What does that look like for you?
It looks like these. It looks like all of these, which are all my trophies in the background there, which is great. It's fantastic. It's great to win. It's great to get the contract. It's great to win the trophy, win the award. And yes, absolutely celebrate that. I absolutely took the time after the NSA win, after all things that are to be celebrated. Take that moment, recognize that, because the other thing that you want to do with that is to put it on your resume. And I don't mean the one that you give to other people. This is your personal resume. Because every time you get kicked and you get down and you fall down to your knees and you're like, I just can't. Not anymore. I got nothing left. Literally. And this is part of the worksheet that I gave Terry to give out for the QR code. Literally, I want you to write down those things that you've accomplished. I'll tell you right now, all of these are on my list of things that I've accomplished, because I have had absolutely times where I have the wind knocked out of me and I am on the floor. I just can't. I cannot bring it today. I don't have it in me. And I go back to my old operating system where my parents are trying to keep me safe. But that's not what I'm built for. And I open up that list and I look at it and I go, you know what? I'm the same guy who won that NSA thing. I'm the guy who competed against Steve Carell for The Office. It doesn't even have to be a win, but look at how far I got with that. I'm the guy who did this. I'm the one who gave his daughter the advice when she needed it most, and look what she did. She came back and thanked me and said, man, I really love that advice. You got that. We've all got that by the very nature of what we do. But remembering to go back to it, that's part of your story. That will reinforce your ability to go, okay, hold on a minute. I didn't just lose every skill and ability that I have. I may not be the top of what I'm trying to do, but based on my history and experience, I can get pretty close to it. And all that takes is my first step. Take one step, the smallest step you can take towards that, and that starts you again. That moves you in the direction. Once that catalyst, that fuse is lit, sometimes it's as silly as just writing it on paper, as go do the dishes, move your body. And now take the next, I accomplished doing the dishes. Yay, me. Now I can send an email I couldn't talk to a client right now, but I can write an email to a client.
Yep.
I can do that. And now all of a sudden you're back. You're in it. You're in your new story that's aligned with your values, which are way stronger once you give them the chance to be the vehicle that you want it to be the story you want to tell yourself.
This has been awesome. We have covered a lot of ground in a short period of time, a lot of ground. People watching right now, watching afterwards, like, I get it. You're telling yourself stories, your stories, internal stories, create your external reality. If you were to say, whether it's reinforcing something you already said or something you haven't touched on yet, if you were to say, at least do this one thing, at least do this, what would you tell people to do?
Yeah, write your resume. Write your resume. Take your real resume and just write out the 20 things that you've accomplished in your life. They don't have to be with an award or a trophy. The 20 things you're proud of that you did. It gets hard at 10. All of a sudden at 11, it's like, what have I done with my life? Give it a minute. Let it come. It'll come. Just take the moment and get to 20. Because anybody who can achieve the 20 things that you did in your life, guess what? You can do anything that you're looking at. Take that small step. One small step forward. The story will take care of itself.
Absolutely awesome. If people want to find you online, where's the best place or places to go?
I post on LinkedIn almost every other day. So find me on LinkedIn. And of course, JeffRogersUnlimited.com. That's why it's named Unlimited, because I honestly believe the only limits that there are the ones that we put on ourselves. And why do that?
This has been awesome. Terry, you can unpin us. That is the Jeff Rogers Unlimited experience. Let's see the hands. Who got at least one? Who got at least one takeaway? Let's see this. Let's start with Terry, and then we're going to go to Chris. And yeah, put the virtual hands up. At least one takeaway. Yeah, Terry.
First and foremost, wow, another outstanding interview. This whole session was just chock full. I know you love saying that, but that's legit, Mark. Hats off to you for both of those. My takeaway is the blinking resume, because so often we do not look at what we've accomplished out there and undersell and beat up on ourselves all the time. And that will relay itself in stories. If you don't, you'll start believing what you're doubting. Great information.
Thank you.
I actually have never gotten a chance to unpin everybody because I'm slow on the draw. So whoever's doing it, I think it might be Chris or Christy. Hats off to them.
Thank you, Chris or Chris. And speaking of Chris, what did you take away from this? An aha moment?
Yeah, the aha moment is keeping a record, especially in his case, that visual record of what you've accomplished, those things you've overcome. I think one of the things we always forget is that when we're in that down moment, that sense that we just don't have the power or potency that we had before, we have a hard time thinking of those things. They just erase themselves from our brain. So having a hard copy that you can remind yourself to go back to, I think that's the gold that Jeff shared with us. And I think that makes all the difference. Understanding that when your emotions are low, you lose your ability to see those accomplishments. You've got to externalize them and go back and revisit them.
Hey, Jeff Rogers, can you, because he brought up a really good point, can you expand on that as far as what are tidbits? I won a trophy, I did the dishes. What are some other examples that people can put to get to 20?
Yeah, it literally is whatever made you feel proud. Getting hired for me, it was getting hired at Second City, getting a round of applause, finishing 5K. I finished my 5K in under 45 minutes, folks. That is a land speed record for me. So that is also a terribly slow. Walkers were coming past me at a faster pace. But you know what? I finished it. That's what I wanted to do. And that was all that was. It wasn't a huge, oh my gosh. So it can be anything that you feel proud of. You finished that bathroom that you've been working on or you called the guy to finish the bathroom. It can be that, but you got it off your desk. You got it off your mind. Find the things that fill you with just a little bit of pride. It doesn't have to make sense. No one else needs to see this list. It just needs to remind you of what you've accomplished.
That is
making
awesome.
the call. I'll tell you one more. Meeting my wife, right? There's a whole story behind it, but I literally, after asking my wife out 3 times and her saying no, I finally said, listen, I'm going to stop this soon. I have reservations every night this week. So pick one night. Let me take you out to dinner and I won't bother you again. And she did. We went out that night. We went out every night that week and have been together ever since. The courage to ask her the 4th freaking time to go out on a date is on my list, right? It can be whatever that fills you with just a little bit of courage. A little bit of feeling good about yourself, a little bit of hope.
That's an awesome way to go about it. Mr. Jonathan Pitts, what was your aha moment or takeaway, sir?
I had 2 of them. If it wires together, it fires together. And it's not win or lose, it's win or learn. Especially that one, because in America, we are so focused on win or lose and that binary experience of it. And it's so brilliant to just be able to say it's win or learn. And that way, because we learn from our mistakes more than we learn from our successes.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just FYI, if it fires together, it wires together. So if the neurons fire together, they form that bond, and then it's wired together, creating that neural pathway.
Thank you. I changed it now in my notes.
Well, actually, again, Jeff Rogers, can you expound on win or learn? How do you not just give up? Because it's so easy to say, screw this, I'm done. How do you keep on to learn and not just lose?
Yeah, I mean, it takes a little bit of it does take a little bit of effort, right? Not to get completely bogged down by a loss or a series of losses, right? J.K. Rowling had how many letters saying no, we're not going to accept your manuscript. Stephen King was a substitute teacher and he was living in a trailer park and he had them stapled to his wall before he sold his first book. Taking the lesson of what works and trying to apply it and what you're going to stick to, right? What works for you, what you want to find a home for in terms of your thought or your intention or your goal. You need to have that value of consistency. Even though this didn't work, I'm going to keep trying. I'll try different things. I'm going to learn from this, take the lesson from it. Everything that we do teaches us a lesson, whether we like it or not. Once you get the lesson, understand what the lesson is. I think we've all probably had the experience of going back to something and learning a new lesson from it, a past experience that we were able to bring up on the movie screen in our head and go, oh, you know what? you know what the other thing is from that? It's this. This is this is a better part of this lesson. Really mining your experiences and your non-successful experiences for the lessons is key to being able to A, move on from the cycle you're in, and B, grow evolve as a person.
That's awesome. Miss NSA-IL. What was your takeaway or aha moment?
That would be me, everybody. Hi, I'm Rosie Zelinskas. So I'm going to share a little, be a little bit vulnerable here. I have had a really rough 2026. We had to put my mom in a nursing home. She has Alzheimer's. My dad passed away from Parkinson's. I had COVID really bad. And so it's so interesting because everything that Jeff said is absolutely true. I was literally with fever under the blankets going like, I suck. My life sucks. Everything sucks. Everything is just terrible. And the one thing that Jeff said is just, sometimes we just have hard seasons in life and you just have to get yourself up and you have to start all over again. I didn't work on my business for 6 weeks because I was helping my parents and doing all this stuff. And then I got really sick. And so, but I have to tell you, this has been so inspiring to me because sometimes you are down in the dumps and you have a really hard season. And my family and I are going through a really hard season right now. But it's coming to events like this that Jeff has totally inspired me to think, okay, maybe I don't suck that much, that kind of thing. So, but it is kind of getting back and rebuilding and knowing that we do have hard seasons in life and we just have to put one foot and step in front of the other. And again, look at our little wins every single day. So I just wanted to share because this has been phenomenal. And I always love to give Jeff a hard time, but everything that you said today, Jeff, meant a lot to me. So thank you.
Thank you, Rosie.
I'm super glad to hear that, Rosie.
And I've seen a lot of nodding, and I did see your hand, Christy. I don't want you to think I forgot about you. What was your takeaway?
It's such a brilliant lesson for me. 13 years of parochial education, very strict parents. It's like, whoa, I wish I had breakfast at your kitchen table instead of mine. I could have been the first on the moon. So anyway, it's ignited a flame. I just think, thank you, Jeff. That was just inspiring.
Good.
And I'm going to open the floor to Jeff Durocher and Jeff Rogers moving forward. But Jeff Durocher, let's pick on you a little bit. What kind of takeaways, ahas did you have from Jeff Rogers related to networking or otherwise?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. It was really good. So for me, it's about visualization. I came from a sports background, and that was always an important part before you did competition. Is you kind of visualize the outcome, visualize the things you did. So that one is a nice reminder. It's been a while since I've thought of that, but it's very, very helpful. So that was my key takeaway.
We didn't have a ton of time to get into that, but that absolutely is a key element of that internal story and the idea of that. Anybody who's watching the Olympics, if you watch the athletes prior to them going on, the downhill skiers were great. They were sitting there behind the tent where they launch, and they were going,
yeah.
And they were living it, right? They were in that moment. And I can't tell you how powerful that is to use that process in whatever you're doing. I know it feels like, does that really work? It really works. Just do it. Don't question it. Don't go with all of the things in your head that are saying, oh, I'm too old for that. I can't do that. Let all of that go. Just try it. Yeah,
And
Jordan did it. Absolutely.
Sona mentioned, can Jeff talk about how joining NSA to meet people, and then how did that lead to competing in the contest and getting and winning? How did NSA play a role with the people you met here? And Jeff Durocher might jump in with networking, but we'll start with Jeff Rogers. How did that NSA lead to that?
And the
With your
TEDx,
mindset.
the TEDx talks you got from it too.
Yeah. So I want to make sure I'm understanding the question correctly. How
What is it, Liz? Why don't you ask it, Liz?
So I was just Googling you. Didn't you get 2 TEDx talks from winning too? Because it brought you so many other things. And the other thing is I see in you, I don't know if anybody knows who Mel Robbins is. She has like the bleached blonde hair and those black glasses, and she talks about just let them. But I also notice how you went to all these elite institutions and you learned things, and it seems like one of your talks kind of plays into that. But you seem to have a knack for finding interesting ideas, and then she's podcasting and doing books, and you're probably doing that as well, and talking, but it's just interesting trajectory.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Mel Robbins. I love her. I love her. Period. I think she really is a very direct speaker, and incredible insights that she shares. So yeah. So in terms of networking, joining NSA, I was very much coming from a different perspective. I hadn't been a part of it, but I've been on stage as an MC, as a speaker for 35 years. So while a lot of people have been in NSA for a long time, I've been on stage for a long time. I'd put my record of being on stage, up against anybody, and my experiences with that, but I'd never talked to other speakers about it. What I found was that everybody here speaks my language. Everybody understands my language because we're all speaking the same thing. I tell people all the time, oh, I found my people, because we want to help other people. And so taking it to networking level, the similarities and the backgrounds helped with those connections, and the similar outcomes that we want for everybody else helped me to immediately be super comfortable and make connections that probably would take me a little bit longer if that were not the case. So I will tell you, as soon as I won at Influence, I was very well known. It's helped incredibly in NSA. I've gotten the chance to go to numerous chapters and help with their storytelling, and I've gotten to know people there and form relationships with speakers that I would have never had the opportunity to meet otherwise. So that's been fantastic in terms of how NSA has helped that. And yeah, it did help me get the TEDx, and then I actually hosted a TEDx as well. And both of those things stemmed from the storytelling. So it's been awesome in that way.
And I want to talk to Michelle. If I say it right, Michelle Bohm, you mentioned, wow, the exact message I needed to hear right now. What was one of your takeaways? Unless she left.
Oh, hello, everyone. Oh, I'm traveling today, but I can pop on here for a second in between. I kind of like Rosie was saying, I have been in a funk, in a bad place, and this is the message that I needed to hear today, that you're still moving forward, even if it's slowly at times. I'm still moving forward. I can rewrite the story that I've been telling myself about the last 6 months of my life and keep moving forward. It was exactly what I needed to hear today, Jeff. Thank you.
That's my pleasure. You and Rosie are two of the strongest people I know, so that means a lot coming from both of you.
Well, since we're getting on a common theme here, Jeff Durocher, how do relationships with networking, how do relationships help you keep on keeping on during tough times?
Yeah, it sort of is what drives me, right? The more people I meet, I hear similar stories, similar struggles, similar backgrounds. So it sort of whatever sort of makes it normalizes it for me. I've, one of the things that I took away from Jeff Rogers' talk is I think we come from a bit more privilege than we really realize. And as I meet people, I like to be able to bring that privilege that I was born into towards them to help them, just because there's so many things that we were exposed to that we felt were normal, that it doesn't happen to everybody. So, as I'm going around meeting people, I kind of keep that in mind. It's like, wow, I thought everybody experienced this. I thought everybody thought like this. So it's interesting as you meet people to hear that, they come from different backgrounds and they don't even know the opportunities that are available. And when you introduce them to them, it's a very rewarding thing for me, and it's very helpful to them. So that's why I do it. I just keep meeting people so I can figure out where their potential is, help them, bridge some gaps that they didn't even know were there. And that brings me a lot of joy, and it really helps the person, kind of motivates them.
Nice.
Can I jump on that for 1 second, Mark?
Absolutely, sir.
So that's Jeff just did a great example of a story that he told himself. I thought everybody knew this, or I thought everybody would do this. But with no evidence, right? It's just a story that he was telling himself. I think we all go through that in terms of, well, I don't know if I should be a speaker. I don't know if my message is right for this audience. I don't know if they need to hear this. When we were talking about the story that we tell ourselves, I will tell you one of the thoughts that went across my mind was, well, these are speakers. They all know this. They all know that this is, I mean, they speak on it. Some of them are way more knowledgeable about this than me. Why would my sort of take on this be of any value? Well, that's just the story in my head, right? Maybe it is of value. And even if it just reaches out to a couple of people, or like Michelle and Rosie said, yeah, I needed this today. Even if they know it all, we've also all been in the situation where we know everything that's being said, but man, we haven't said it to ourselves today. And it's great to hear it from somebody else, or it feels like it's coming from somewhere else in the universe. Like, oh yeah. Okay. I'm feeling it again. So those stories that we tell ourselves really can get in the way of the reality that we can help as many people as we can help. And so recognizing them as we're telling them, one of the things I do is that a fact? Do I know that for sure? Right? Can that be proven? And if it can't, then maybe that's a story in your head.
This has been awesome. And to close it out, keeping in theme right now, Lynn, Persuasion GPS Franklin, you also mentioned this is exactly what I needed to hear today. What was a takeaway or aha moment for you?
Well, I had plenty.
Wow, way to go, Jeffs.
And and mostly I guess I'm in the Michelle and Rosie camp. There have been a lot of personal challenges, and I decided I would be in a play. I would be in a Purimspiel where I play, of all things, Mr. Spock. And I got some bad health news early this week, and I thought, I can't do this. I can't do this play. And so came this morning thinking I need to tell myself a new story. And that's exactly what you share, Jeff, and share Jeff Rogers. And so I've been sitting here thinking, okay, so let's do the visualization. Let's put myself up on that stage where I remember all of the lines, where I do the limited amount of dancing that Spock would do. And I'm there because I can help other people laugh and bring them joy and get the energy from that will nourish me, because I particularly need it right now.
Thank you. And thank everyone for being awesome with participation, both raising the virtual hands, putting it in the chat. In closing, let's give the Jeffs a round of applause. Thank you, Jeffs. This has been awesome. And I will hand it back. It is 11:05, sir. So, Mr. Terry Lynch, take it away.
I want a round of applause for Mark Carter as well. He did a fantastic job, not only interviewing today, but organizing this entire presentation with the two Jeffs. Speaking of which, as a stage actor in Chicago, the one award you go for is a Jeff Award. And I wish I had awards to give the two Jeffs today, because they would have won hands down with their interviews and the information that we all received. Speaking of which, you'll be able to watch this again, because you can get the video of it because you were here today. And I know I'm going back to take more notes because I was busy doing other things, but hats off to all of you. And we can't thank you enough for everything the three of you gave us. So one more round of applause on that end. Now, I got to tell you something else. I have a little bit of information because I saw what Jeff put together for us. If you go and fill out our Talkadat, because can we all see the Talkadat? Because I'm between two screens here. There we go. Oh,
I see a QR code for feedback.
that is what I'm looking for. My mouse is playing games with me. So, okay, it paused. Yeah, son of a gun. Let me go back on it. I'm going to try and get that back a second time. There you go. Are we seeing the QR code?
Yes.
Cool. All right. I know why it's not working right, because I didn't put it full screen. Oh, I'm going to blink through all of these to get to it. There you go. That's what I was looking for all along. There you go. Scan that code or go to https://talk.ac/NSA-IL, put in the prompt story, and you're going to get this Storycraft self-authoring tool from Jeff that will help you go through those steps. Some of it, what he was referring to in his presentation. It's outstanding. It's easy to do, and it's an activity that I think you should do over and over and over again. While you're busy filling out that, I'm going to let you know we've got coming up down the road several other presentations on March 5th. We know Last Story Standing at Skokie Theater. It's a live event. I want to see everyone there. $25 to get in. We have got 6 of the most magnificent NSA Illinois presenters that are going to be competing for that #1 slot and represent us in regionals. I told you about the beginning, so I'm beating you up with it again at the back end. Then April 10th, we've got a virtual with Richard Bliss on LinkedIn. And then May 8th, we have got Jim Cathcart coming to us live at the Schaumburg Country Club. More information will follow on those. You'll get emails, you'll get phone prompts, and you'll get me pestering you for those events coming up. And each one of them will be piggybacked the Thursday afterwards with a accelerator hosted by several different people. You'll get information on that as well. And you know what? If you just can't wait to get that information, then what I suggest you do is go on to the website and register now, specifically for the Last Story Standing, because folks, let's be honest, that's coming up in only a couple of weeks. And you want to be there to see this live event. Each one of those presenters has been here today with us, and they are great presentations they're going to be putting up there, as well as the couple of entertainers we're going to get in the form of Chris and Lynn, and to make sure that it runs really smoothly, a fellow by the name of Jeff Rogers. So until the next time, we're just going to wrap it up with a little bit of networking. If anyone's interested in that or has any other questions, we got a little bit of time before we have to say goodbye to everybody. And so I'll open up the floor to anyone, or if you need to get going. It was good talking to you. Happy Friday the 13th. Make sure that you don't go under any ladders or break any mirrors today. And for those of you who haven't gotten something for your loved one for Valentine's Day, Jeff Rogers has all sorts of great ideas that he came up with at the very beginning. And Ivan will get you a discount on the jewelry you need to get, as long as it's not a heart. On that note, I want to thank everyone for hanging out with us today. I hope you learned some good things, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Great meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
By the way, is there a term for that awkward moment when you're trying to hang up and you're looking and you're reaching? Is there a term for that?
It's called the lynch move.
Jerry, thank you so much for your great effort today. It was wonderful.
No problem.
Yeah, Mark, great job, man. Really nicely done. Thanks for making that just effortless.
Yeah, right on time and everything. It was beautiful. Well done.
I also want to say hello to Mark because I haven't seen him in a while. Jeff Durocher, nice to meet you. For a while, looking at your face, I was wondering if you were related to Leo Durocher because you have a little similar look to the former Chicago Cubs manager. Jeff Rogers, you are inspiring as always. I love how you talk. I love what you share. It's just like nitro. But I do have one question for the two Jeffs. Not to be nitpicky, but this was called Storytelling Secrets for Speakers, and neither one of you revealed a secret.
I would think
I would like
I've
to
been
have you,
beating.
Jeff, reveal a secret.
You got to blame that on the marketing folks.
This is
Putting the headline together.
the secret is that we're both AI. Neither one of us is real.
It's coming.
Yeah, I've been kicking myself thinking about, did I really talk about storytelling?
Actually, both of you did sprinkle it in there, and that was the secret, was that we storytell all the time, even when we don't think we are.
Yeah.
Very nicely said, Terry.
Anytime.
And that's because you're a human and not AI like the two Jeffs.
The secret's out.
So Jeff Durocher, I just wanted to thank you for, it's clear that you are a giver and you help a lot of people. It comes through in everything that you said, and from what Mark has talked about your behavior, about introductions and things like that. It's just so refreshing because so many people show up at a networking event and think, what can I do? They get so self-involved, even if they're nervous. Whereas if
Yeah.
you come up with the idea of what can I do to help someone today, or take that to the next part in your life, like what can I do to help others? It actually, things come back to you without you even preparing for it.
Yeah. No, you're right on. So thank you. And that's my secret, Jonathan, is I always end my every interaction with people. I always say, let me know how I can help you. And it gets them to stop and think a little bit to say, you know what, now that I think about it, let me think about some ways, and that leads to follow-ups often as well. So I that's open to this group as well. If there's any way I can help you, I'd be happy to. Please reach out.
Thank you.
All of this kind of reminds me of an improv teacher that both Jeff Rogers and I loved, a guy named Martin DeMott. And Martin would say, you need to be in the center of your own parade.
Nice. Yeah, right. God, I haven't thought about that in years.
I've got a
I haven't thought
interesting.
of Martin in ages.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I've got an interesting story about improv. I took improv, and my friend said that's like putting gasoline on a fire, which I thought was great. But I also took some speaking courses, and I learned that something really interesting about myself. Um, the course had us do I think we had 5 minutes to come up with a 10-minute story or something like that. And of course, I just screwed around for 5 minutes, and then I just did winged it, And they asked me, they said, "How did that go for you, Jeff?" And I said, "Oh, I thought it was great. I thought I told a great story." And then they asked the audience, they said, "How was that for the audience?" They're like, "I had no idea what you're talking about. I couldn't follow it. There was no beginning, middle, and I thought I killed it." So they gave us some techniques, and then basically it came down to rehearsal. You have to rehearse over and over, which drives me bananas because the improv person in me doesn't like to do something more than once, right? It sounds stale, feels boring, blah, blah, blah. So I went back, and it was the same components of the same story, but I rehearsed it several times for 5 minutes or something, and then came back and told the story, and it was the opposite. They asked the audience, "What'd you think?" "Oh, that was great. There was a beginning, a middle, end. I followed. I was really engaged." And then they asked me, and I said, "I hated it. It was so boring. I I would rather not do that again." So it was a really interesting dynamic that I learned about improv versus sort of rehearsal and prep. And I suppose in the comedy world, it's around stand-up comedy versus improv, right? You have to kind of have your stick tight. So you reminded me of that, Jonathan, when you're talking about this improv techniques.
Well, I think
So
the Terry and Jonathan who've also done performed as actors, is that the real freedom is when you've rehearsed it so much that you know it so well that you can improvise around it.
Yeah.
That's a
And
great point.
then you're basically bulletproof. There's nothing that can throw you off because you can always bring it back to the text or the story or whatever. But now you have the freedom to roam, which
That's
is
interesting. Yeah.
that's pretty powerful.
You know,
That's a big
there's a difference between memorization and practice. And I remember Jeff preparing for the influence event and, you know, doing it 30, 40 times. And I saw him on that stage and it looked like he just got up there and started telling a story. And he was having fun. He was engaging with a lot of people in the audience. We all felt like he was right there. And it's because he was so comfortable with the material. So there is a huge difference between memorization. And a lot of people get victims of this because they rely on this virtual environment and then they almost use this teleprompter stuff
Yeah.
to do their speeches or to do their presentations. You can just feel it. It doesn't feel natural. So that is a caution to all of these teleprompter things too. I think most of us don't know how to use a teleprompter. Jeff probably does. I don't know how to use a teleprompter. So I'm sure there's an art to that as well.
I used one for this.
Oh, you did not.
That's because he's AI.
Mm. Yeah, ChatGPT write this whole thing for him.
Yeah, as we were doing it.
Hey, Jeff, as long as you didn't use a teleprompter when you asked your wife for a date on the 5th try.
Yeah. Yeah, no, not so much.
It was finally the real Jeff coming out.
Yeah, exactly. Or it was just pity. It was, let's be honest, it was utter and complete pity, which I'm not above. I'm okay with that.
Or you wore her out, man. You just wore
Either way, I won. So you know what? I got nothing to add.
Yeah. Great.
Very good.
Cool.
I am looking at the time. I'm going to have to duck out because I've got to get ready to go to the board meeting.